dad isn't even here, and he needs to be here.
Reset it.
I mean, I'm not going to do this case without him being here because he hasn't been here a couple of times before, and
I'll see what I can do. Nina sent me his phone number.
well,
And
I'm like bam, bam, bam today, so I don't have time to do a bunch. And Mr. Leone probably has a schedule too. Not that y'all don't also. Yes, see where he is, because we'll wait a little bit long. We'll wait just a couple more minutes, and then we're just going to reset this. Based on what I've been reading the reports, isn't it kind of important that dad be here, or is it not?
No, I think it is, Your Honor, because I think we're trying to ensure we've got a certain plan for when mom can be unsupervised and when she can't. And there have been some concerns about Genesis, about coaching and how her mental health is a bit in decline lately. So I do think it would be important.
Adams, what do y'all think?
Yes.
Think dad would be here?
Mhm.
Your Honor, I don't want to go into it, but during the hearing, I was planning to discuss that, that I take issue with assuming that there's something wrong with the child or she's being coached or abused or anything like that simply because she doesn't like to talk to CPS.
Well, I have a problem with her not letting people go in the house, in different rooms in the house. I mean, you know what? Number one, she's a kid. She didn't tell me what to do, or she didn't tell Casa what to do, or CPS. I mean, I ain't having. Okay, y'all, when can y'all do this again today? Mr. Leone, when can you do it today? I can do it at 4:00.
That's fine by me, Your Honor. I always block the whole day for CPS day. So.
Everybody else do it at 4? Mr. Leone, can you do it at 4? Yes, and we'll just talk regular. Costas, can everybody else do it at 4?
Yeah.
Miss San Miguel, call Miss Willis and tell her to get him here at 4:00. Period. End of story. Or the alternative is he gets to come to the courthouse. And I don't think he wants to do that.
okay, will do. And Miss Willis may be able to make it by 4:00 too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I
permits
will
to-
see
permits to
everybody
hearing.
at 4:00. Like I said, I don't have my file, so I don't have any reports. So Mr. Baker, you could tell me what's going on.
You did say Mr. Baker, right?
Oh, sorry, I lied. Mr. Rogers. Yeah.
I was about to take over. I was like,
I was ready for you to take the wheel there, Russ. That's
Yeah,
right.
sorry.
Well, Judge, I think the biggest issue from our perspective is a procedural one, which is that there's been a motion to transfer venue filed after some investigation and consideration by various parties. I don't think anybody opposed that. I have reached out on multiple occasions to the county attorney's office in Nueces, but it might be necessary to take a look at an order to transfer venue from the court or to set a hearing to discuss that motion quickly before we end up too far down the road. And then, so I think that was kind of the main thing we wanted to bring up. I think the children, my understanding is, are doing well, and we can confirm that with CPS. Ms. Lancaster, how are the kids doing? They're still with the grandparents, doing well?
They're doing amazing. They're always smiling, happy, running around, being boys, scaring me all the time. That's one of their favorite things, is to scare me when I come out there and see them. They're very talkative. They're all healthy. They're eating, doing school. 2 of them were held back because they struggled with certain things in school. But other than that, everybody's doing amazing.
And I believe you had received a request from the attorneys for one of the parents for some reports. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear, Your Honor, if you could just enter an order that CPS is to provide reports to all parties, would be just to be sure we can do that, and then we'll take care of that. Is there anything else that the department needs right now, or is there any update on an investigation for Mr. Cases?
As far as I know, the investigation is still open. It has not been closed. At our PC, Mr. Cases and Autumn are saying they're no longer together. And Mr. Casey says they are engaged, but then backtrack saying they weren't engaged. He did reach out to me asking if he needs to continue on the case. And I asked him if he plans on being with Autumn after the case closed. And he did not reply to that question. And then I told him that it would be in the best interest if he does continue seeing her after the case for him to continue services. So nothing can come about it after the fact that, he didn't complete his services and cause any additional problems.
So is it fair to say you're getting kind of a little bit different stories from them on whether they're together?
Correct. Also, they were observed late in the evening. I received a phone call saying that they were seen together, getting in the same vehicle, leaving a restaurant. If they're not, I get you can still be friends with people that you were with. And again, but this is a different situation. They're saying they're not engaged. They're not going to be together, but then they're observed out in public together late in the evening, leaving a restaurant, getting in the same vehicle. It doesn't go with what they're saying to everybody else, that they're no longer together.
So your preference would be that Mr. Casey would continue services?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have anything else you need to request from the court today in this case?
Nothing new, not at this time, no, sir.
Thanks. That's all I have, Judge.
Anybody have any questions of Ms. Lancaster?
Yes, Judge. What day was this evening that they were seen together?
Let me get the dates together for you. Give me just one moment. It was Wednesday, May 31st, and it was at 10:05 p.m.
Okay, and who reported it, please?
It was the courtesy worker that handles my case for me,
Okay.
Miss Natalie.
And I received a dated May 31st mailing date from the Texas Department of Family Protective Services and administrative closure of Michael Casillas. Did you receive that?
No, sir.
It was addressed to my client. Does anybody, Your Honor, may I ask if anybody else related to this case has a copy of that administrative closure? I don't want to sidebar anybody.
That's okay. That's fine.
Mr. Rogers, do you have that administrative closure?
To my knowledge, we don't. That's actually why I asked Ms. Lancaster that question, because you had communicated that to my office, I think, in the last couple of days, and it was a bit of news to us, to be honest. So I guess the other question would be, I think Ms. Lancaster doesn't know. What about the supervisor?
Right.
Yeah. So to my knowledge, no, that doesn't mean it isn't working its way to us through the bureaucracy.
Ms. Lancaster, the allegation of the alleged perpetrator is Michael Casillas. The alleged type of abuse was physical abuse. The alleged victim was Morris Bentley, finding administrative closure. You're saying you did not receive that?
No, sir.
Did anybody in the department communicate that to you?
No, sir.
Okay. Does that affect your opinion about him continuing to receive services?
No, it does not, sir.
Has the lady, the courtesy worker down here in Nueces County, has she visited Autumn Bryan's house?
Yes, I believe so.
Has she seen Mr. Michael Casillas at that house?
I don't believe so, as he was at work during those times when she visits him.
Okay. And to your knowledge, has there been any evidence that Michael has been residing with Autumn Bryan in her home?
Not to my knowledge, but we don't go through the closets to see if there's any clothing or anything of his in the home.
And is Autumn Bryan able to talk to her children vis-a-vis through the Perrys?
I'm sorry?
Is Autumn Bryan permitted to speak to her children vis-a-vis through the Perrys?
If the therapists approve, I did send out a request to see if how they were doing in their services and if they have up their recommendations to Autumn now receiving phone calls. They did receive a letter from Autumn, which was forwarded to them, and they did discuss that with the boys and talk to them about it. But I have not gotten a response as if there should be any phone calls between Autumn and the children yet, but I will update the court as soon as I get that information back from them.
Also, did you participate in preparing a counter affidavit, a contra affidavit to Ms. Bryan's motion to transfer venue?
No, sir. Did I prepare a what? I'm sorry.
Yes. Did you participate in a response by preparing an affidavit swearing to certain facts regarding Autumn Bryan's motion to transfer venue to Nueces County?
No, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness check.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions, Ms. Lancaster?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Potts?
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask a couple of things about the children. Has the therapist given you any verbal recommendations for visits with Ms. Bryan?
As of now, everything was still no contact because the kids were still very upset with her and were voicing those upsets with her with their therapist. So they're still at this. Before I reached out again, and I haven't got an update yet, but prior to that request, they were still standing by the children not having any contact at this time with mom.
Okay, have you interviewed the children or talked to them about their desires? And if so, what did they say?
Yes, I talk to them about their desires every time I see them, every time I talk to them about what they would want. And I want to make sure that they feel safe and comfortable and they're being listened to. So they always Bentley voices he does not want to go back home. And I try to explain to him that mom and Michael are no longer together. And he told me that she was a liar. He knows that she's going to get back with him as soon as he goes back home. So he does not want to go back home. Elijah's not as vocal as Bentley, but he also states he does not want to go home. He feels safer at where he's staying. And when they get in trouble, they don't get yelled at and get hit. They do get punished by going in corners and stuff like that. But it's way better than being home with mom. And Dallas, he stated that he's sad because of how he got treated with mom. So he wants to stay where he's at as well at this time.
Okay. Question for you. If you know, what were the boys' responses to mom's letters to them?
From the report that I got from Bentley, because I spoke to Bentley after. I'm sorry?
Sustain.
Okay.
That's fine. In your reports, I understand you're reporting that mom is still testing positive for marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it's my understanding that the children did a children's advocacy interview. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that there were serious allegations in that interview. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that would be a different criminal investigation separate from the department's investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I do know that there was 2 more allegations brought up. There was 2 IVRs that came in regarding the same incident. So they might be
Calling for speculation. This client can't know what the criminal division is going to do.
That's fine. That's fine. I know that Autumn was supposed to, let's see, no, she's doing that. Okay. So there was some confusion about Stephen Ruglane, and I understand that Elijah is his son. Is that correct?
No, Dallas is his son, the youngest.
Dallas is his son. Okay. And does Dallas want to visit with his father?
Yes, they have also, their therapist has approved them to have phone contact, and they have been having phone contact, letter contact, and that sort of thing.
Okay. So as to Mr. Rugline's services, it was my understanding that for some reason, due to I guess it's the San Antonio courtesy workers,
Yes.
That they had not set up any services for him at the time of the permanency conference. Is that correct?
Correct. And they have finally got in contact with them, and they're working on getting those set up for them as we speak.
So any failure of his to complete services was not
of here. He has started taking some, I've sent him like some parenting classes and stuff that he can take online and do, and he's been doing those. So he has been trying to work services with what I have provided him so far.
Okay.
So, regarding the parenting.
And this is the child, Dallas, who has not met his father yet. Was that correct?
Correct. He was a baby
No.
when they were separated.
So that's okay, Mr. Rugline. Your lawyer will ask you questions. Okay, and I just wanted to be sure that Dallas could see his dad if that's what he wanted.
Yes, we're going with therapist recommendations. But as of right now, they are recommending, having phone contacts and stuff. And if it goes further, then we'll proceed with the visits, in-person visits.
Your Honor, I think that raised up a procedural issue and go back to what Mr. Rogers was saying. We are not waiving our motion to transfer venue.
I know.
Okay, thank you.
I know, but I also require that one county attorney's office talk to the other county attorney's office, because I've had cases just dumped on me or my county attorneys without the county attorneys conferring, and I also did when I was county attorney too, and it makes me crazy. So, that's why I need them to talk, see when we can have a court date, so I can put it in an order, blah, blah, blah. So if you have any contacts down there, the quicker we can contact the Corpus Christi people will call Mr. Rogers back, the quicker we can get this resolved. So good. Just so statutorily, I'm still having the hearings because nobody else is,
Right. I understand.
In fact, Mr. Borland, I'd like to talk to you on the phone after the hearing about that matter. I'm also going to reach out to the regional council because I've called them at least 3 times and they just won't call me back.
Yes, Mr. Rogers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of the transfer. So, we're just doing what we can while we can,
I understand, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, keep going.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Ms. Lancaster, you're treating all parents, as I understand, we are going by the therapist recommendations for contacts with the children. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Anybody have anything else, Ms. Lancaster?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Regarding the services that Autumn Bryan has been asked to do, has she been doing those services?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she's been responsive to every request by the department, right?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you.
Judge, I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Lancaster, this is Courtney Wheeler. I represent Dallas's dad, Stephen.
Yes, ma'am.
Just briefly, and I'm, Ms. Potts covered quite a bit of this, but other than the fact that my client was alienated from his child, what concerns does CPS have regarding their contact?
Objection, an improper question. It is implying a response that is being asked for. It's leading, and the response would be in response to an improper question. I object to that question.
Ms. Wheeler, why don't you reword it, please, so we can get the answer?
Sure. Miss Lancaster, other than the amount of time that it has been since my client has seen his child, which you testified to earlier, what concerns does the department have regarding contact between Stephen and Dallas?
The department has no concerns at this time regarding Stephen being able to have contact with Dallas.
So since there are no concerns, why is Stephen not being considered immediately for placement of the child, since he's a non-offending father in this suit?
Because Dallas does not know him, and we're trying to get that bond started to where Dallas doesn't feel alienated being taken away from his siblings and placed with his father. We're working on that, but we don't want to just pick him up and put him in a place that he doesn't know who they are and being taken away from his siblings. So we do not want to cause any more damage trying to get that him placed with his father. So we're working on that, but getting him to know Dallas and working on their relationship before we do so.
In CPS cases, in your own work experience, have you placed children in foster care placements where there was no previous contact with the placement of the child?
I have not. Most of mine all have been with families at this point, or they didn't have. I have some teenagers, but they have no siblings. They are being places, but I never had to separate siblings that grew up together in different placements, personally in my cases.
Am I correct in stating then that you have greater concerns about separating siblings than you have about placing the child in a placement with somebody he's not super familiar with?
Not necessarily. I just don't want him to feel misplaced, being taken away from his siblings and placed with someone he doesn't know by himself. If we're working on trying to get that relationship bond with him, Dallas has made statements he would like to go visit his dad. And so we're working on getting all that squared away as well. So we can start that bond so he can stay with his father.
Have you had any conversations with Stephen regarding his ability to maintain sibling contact in the instance that Dallas were to be placed with him?
Yes, we have spoke with that, and he is willing to let Dallas go up and stay with Crystal and Burl, vacations. He's willing to drive up there or meet halfway so the siblings can have contact. Yes, we have spoken about that.
I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
Anybody else?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Mr. Borland?
Ms. Lancaster, I thought initially the department's goal was for reunification with the children with their mother.
That is always our first thing, is reunifying with family members, with
Were
parents.
you aware that Mr. Stephen Rogland currently has a court of continuing exclusive jurisdiction who has entered an order granting Stephen Rogland possession access to the children?
No, I was not aware.
Okay. And yet it appears that your actions seem to be splitting the children up rather than keeping them together and returning them to Autumn Bryant.
At this time, there's no splitting of any children. If at the end, if we do not place back with mother, then Stephen could be an option for Dallas at that time.
Okay, so the department's stated goal is reunification with mother.
Our reunification is with mother at this time while she's working services.
All right, thank you. Pass the witness.
Thank you. Anybody else?
And just one cleanup on that, Your Honor. In the event that there was reunification with the mother, Ms. Lancaster, Mr. Rogland might be allowed to have visitation pursuant to some final order of the court as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Okay. Next witness. Anybody else?
I would like to call someone, Your Honor.
Hold on. Mr. Baker has a question.
Okay.
Ms. Lancaster, good to see you. How are you?
All right. How about yourself?
I'm well. I have one question. And I know the judge hasn't ruled on a motion to transfer, but in the event the court orders this case transferred to Nueces County, which I believe is where they're seeking to have it transferred, does the department intend on obtaining transcripts or recordings of all of the hearings in this case and forwarding them to the department in Nueces County or the county attorney down there?
I can do so. Yes, sir.
And are you willing to work with Mr. Rogers to accomplish that?
Yes, sir.
Pass witness.
How about the court too? Since we kind of have the recordings.
But one last.
Hold on.
Okay. I'm sorry, Judge.
Wait, somebody, Mr. Borland, was that you? I'm sorry.
Yes, Judge. I just had one more question.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Lancaster, are there any additional services that the department is requiring of my client at this time, or has she finished all court-ordered services?
She's still required to do a hair follicle. Hair UA testing, sorry, apologize, for the remainder of the case, as she has been testing positive. She has completed her parenting class, and I believe she's still doing therapy, which I recommend for her to continue therapy. She has not been dismissed from therapy.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up to that, if I might.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Lancaster, it is my understanding that the recommendations from the psychological for mother were anger management and domestic violence classes. I think you just got back that psychological, but I think the service plan says that any services recommended by the psychological or part of the service plan. Have you been able to set up the anger management and domestic violence classes?
No, ma'am.
Do you intend on setting those up?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So that would be something else that mom would need to complete as well.
Correct.
And I believe there were services recommended for Michael
Yes.
in addition, and he had 4 or 5 other things on his list. In the psychological, such as an OSAR, family therapy, parenting, and there was a couple other things I don't recall. Do you
Yeah,
intend
he's doing therapy, and he did OSAR, and they stated that there is no concern there. He also is doing his weekly drug testing, and he also completed the parenting class.
Thank you. Are there any other services he needs to do that were not set up that were in the psychological?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers, next witness.
Yes, I'd like to call Jacinda Mouton, the supervisor.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Ms. Mouton, I'd like to talk about the investigation that was discussed earlier in this hearing. Am I correct that there are basically a couple of options that could end the findings, I guess you'd say, which would be RTB or reason to believe, can't determine, ruled out, and administrative closure? Are those the possible outcomes of an investigation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you heard Mr. Borlon say that in this case, he's received correspondence, there was an administrative closure of this investigation?
Yes, sir.
And why would CPS issue an administrative closure of investigation in a case of this nature?
If there was already an open case.
And so in other words, the existence of this case means that the investigation is no longer necessary in the department's eyes?
Correct.
Is that your understanding as to why the administrative closure was issued?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have questions of Ms. Mouton?
Judge?
Yes, sir. I said yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. In this letter that I received from the department, it says this investigation is now closed and there will be no further agency involvement with your family unless we receive another report of abuse or neglect, which by law would need to investigate. And then it says a finding of administrative closure means that based upon available information, continued intervention by the department is unwarranted and no other findings will be made regarding this allegation. Is that your understanding of what an administrative closure is?
I did not receive the letter, sir, so I am unsure of the contents of the letter. I did look into our system and it did say that the physical abuse case was closed on 5/31/2023 because of this open case, and the child was already addressing the issue in therapy.
Would you be willing through your attorney to provide that information to me?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Judge. Pass the witness.
Anybody else have any questions, Ms. Mouton? Mr. Borland, sounds like right hand, left hand, don't you think?
Yes, Judge.
That's a weird letter if they really know that a CPS case is ongoing. Makes no sense to me, but I got it.
Yes,
okay.
Judge.
Thank you for drawing that chart.
And just so everybody can see here, all I have is a photocopy of it, but this is a copy of the letter that my client received.
Yeah, Ms. Mouton, Mr. Rogers, if you can get that from Ms. Mouton, and if all y'all can circulate, Mr. Borland can circulate what he has, and Mr. Rogers can circulate what you have also.
Yes, ma'am.
Or what you're going to get. Okay, crazy. Okay, next witness, Mr. Rogers.
I have no further witnesses, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Mr. Borland, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, Judge, I'd like to call Autumn Bryan.
Okay, please.
Ms. Bryan, have you been able to have any telephonic communication with your children?
No,
Have you had the ability to talk to their caregivers to see how the children are doing?
nothing.
And why is that?
Well, I call when I'm supposed to every week, twice a week, and I don't get a response. I don't get a call back. I don't get an answer, and now my number is blocked.
Okay. And were you given a reason why you weren't able to follow through with your court-ordered contact? Has anybody told you why that's not happening?
No,
Did you discuss it with your local courtesy caseworker?
Yes.
And is she aware of the problem that you lack or you've been cut off contact with the people that are caring for your children?
Yes.
Did she say she was going to get that addressed, or is that something we need to ask the court to address?
She said she would speak to Miss Lancaster, and that's the last thing I heard.
Okay. Regarding Stephen Rogaland, is there an existing court order granting Stephen access to his child?
Yes.
And has he ever exercised those visits?
No, I have sent him messages in the past and no response.
Okay. Regarding the courses or the assignments that you've been given, have you finished all the court-ordered services except for the continuation of the UAs?
Yes, I have completed everything other than the weekly UAs.
And are your UA values going down?
From what I understand, they're very, very low.
Okay. Regarding Michael living with you, can you for once and for all clarify to everybody here what your intentions are as far as allowing Michael back into your home, realizing that you're under oath and subject to the penalty of perjury?
No, we are not together.
Okay. Do you have intentions of allowing him to move back into your home?
No intentions.
Do you have the intentions of marrying him?
No.
Because of this case is for all intents and purposes, your relationship with him won't continue, correct?
Correct.
Regarding that evening that you were with him back in May at 10:05 p.m., what was the purpose of that?
I don't even remember. I don't remember that ever happening. I don't remember that ever happening.
Okay, it would have been just about a couple weeks ago.
If it did ever happen, we're not together. But like I said, I don't ever remember. I haven't even been out to dinner. It's been a while since I've even been out to eat, especially because I work night shift.
Okay, so you're not sure what this caseworker is talking about?
No.
Did Courtney or the courtesy worker, I'm sorry, did the courtesy worker confront you with this and tell you she saw you at a restaurant with Michael?
No.
Is today the first you've heard of that?
Yes.
Did Ms. Lancaster bring this issue up with you before today?
No.
Okay. Regarding your ability to speak to your children, how old is the oldest child?
He's 9.
And the youngest?
7. Well, 6. He'll be 7 in a couple months.
Okay. And how do you think your inability to speak to your children is affecting you and them?
It's affecting me and them tremendously. I feel like they think that I've abandoned them, which I haven't, because they're little and they don't really understand what's going on. But it affects me tremendously. Like, I don't get to talk to them. I don't get to see them. It affects me every day.
Okay. And when was the last time you actually spoke to your children, either by phone or face to face?
I have not spoke to Dallas one time at all. I have spoke to Eli one time, and it has been since the beginning of the case. And I have spoke to Bentley twice, and it has not been since the beginning of the case.
When was that? In April?
No, it's been since January, February.
So you haven't been able to speak to your children at all since January, February of 2023. Have you been invited to have a conversation with this counselor that is making the recommendation that to cut off all contact is in their best interest? Have you had the opportunity to speak with that counselor?
No.
Has the department offered the opportunity for you to meet with that counselor via Zoom or via phone?
No.
That counselor, I guess, is the Phoenix Center in Marble Falls. If you were able to meet with that person in person, would you be willing to travel to Marble Falls to meet with that person?
Absolutely.
Do you think you would benefit both you and your children by talking to this counselor?
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you would like to address to the court at this time?
Nope, that's all.
Thank you. Pass the leash.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions, Ms. Bryan?
Yes, Judge, I have a few. Did you receive a reason why you've had trouble communicating with the placement in this case from the placement?
No.
Have you had any communications with them regarding these visitations?
I have called and received no response.
Would you say that those communications were polite or combative?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Would you say that your communications with the placements were polite or combative?
A little combative. And my number, like I said, my number is blocked at this point. So I haven't, every time I call, it goes straight to voicemail.
I'll object to the non-responsive portion, but I will also ask you, ma'am.
I'm overruled because if she can't talk to them, I don't know how I don't understand your question.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess my next question would be, did they give you a reason why they blocked you, ma'am?
No.
All right, Your Honor, I have nothing further for this witness. Thank you.
Anybody else? No. Okay, Mr.
Yes,
Borland.
yes, Your Honor, I do have one question.
Okay, go.
I would like to ask Ms. Bryan, would you be surprised if I told you we had a picture of you holding hands on that day when you were leaving the restaurant?
I don't.
Would that surprise you?
I just don't remember that ever happening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Borland, next witness, please.
That's all I have, Judge.
That's all you have? Is that what you said, sir?
Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any witnesses?
Your Honor, I'd like to call Ms. Lancaster as a rebuttal witness.
Okay,
And
please.
Judge, I know that my client wants to speak, and I have some questions for him to clear things up as well.
Oh,
In that
okay.
case, before we move to that, why don't we let her do that? Your Honor?
Thank you. Ms. Wheeler, go on.
Thank you, Judge. Stephen, there you go, you're unmuted.
Yes, ma'am.
Stephen, have you, you heard the testimony earlier, and I just want you to confirm whether or not it's true. Are you willing to work with the placement where they are to make sure that your son continues to have a connection with his siblings?
I am willing to do whatever it takes to have my son and have him have a connection with his siblings, with his grandparents, Bo and Crystal. Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell the court about the time you're getting to visit with him right now, your phone calls and your letters and such?
Right now, I am writing him letters. He has written me back a letter. I FaceTime with him. The reason I haven't been FaceTiming more recent is because I just had mouth surgery. But on another note, we do FaceTime. I'm allowed to FaceTime him. He told me in FaceTime that he wanted to come and live with me, which I have no objections to, as well as to the recent statements made. When I was isolated from my children or just kid, I was told that I was not allowed to have any contact while I was on probation, okay, on another charge. I have not had any charges prior to this charge ever again. But when I was on a charge, Autumn told me, just like she told Derek, if you come near our kids, we will put you in jail.
Sure. And I don't think the court has any, I don't think that everybody here doubts that information, because I know that's been mentioned before. But is it your ultimate goal to have your son come live with you full time?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You want your child placed with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I understand you've been having a hard time getting services down there in San Antonio, but you heard CPS say that there's no concerns.
Yes, ma'am. There are no concerns. I have no CPS prior history. And we have 3 bedrooms. I have a house. We're about to open our own business on top of another business. We can provide him anything that he needs. I have already talked to school districts. We can enroll him in schools.
So here's my next question. On the off chance that today the judge does not order your child to be placed with you, like I know we would you like for the judge to order your son to come visit you on like a long visit?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that would be a good idea for your son to come spend a chunk of time with you this summer?
I think it would be great, and he would excel tremendously from meeting his entire side of the family. My side of the family comes from a very long line of successful people.
Okay, Judge, I have no further questions for my witness.
Anybody have any questions, Ms. Rowland?
Yes, Judge, I do.
Thank you.
Yes,
Go on,
sir.
sir.
Mr. Rowland, is there, what court gave you a court order possession access with your child?
I'm pretty sure that was in Nueces in Corpus Christi.
Okay. And when was that order entered?
I cannot recall. It was a while ago. I had literally just gotten out of jail when she had brought me to court.
When did you get out of jail?
Like 4 years ago.
Okay. And what did you get out of jail for?
A possession charge that I got arrested for her.
Okay. And you were convicted, is that right?
Yes. So she wouldn't get a CPS case.
How much time did you get put in jail?
Oh, I did like 2 weeks or something. But I had to get transferred because she wanted to leave the state all the way to North Carolina.
Objection
Literally.
not responsive.
Sustained.
Sir, my question is, since the last 5 years, have you filed any motion with the court of continuing exclusive jurisdiction to enforce that order in any way?
No, because I didn't know I could.
All right, pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Sorry, your client's terrible.
Brief redirect.
Hold
Stephen,
on.
sing it, bring it down.
Hold on. Mr. Rogan, you can't make sidebar comments like that. You know, she could probably say the same thing about you. So just keep your mouth shut unless somebody's asking you a question. Ms. Wheeler?
Thank you, Judge. Stephen, I know this is extremely frustrating for you and very upsetting. Can you please just calm down and sit still so I can see you because you're giving me seasickness? The last question on that order that Mr. Berlin is so focused on. Do you know if that was ever entered as a final order or was it just a temporary order? Do you have any knowledge of that? If you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know. Oh gosh, I told him to be still and now he's frozen. Question, Judge. Oh, there he is. Hey, Stephen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I asked you to be still and then you froze, which was funny. Did you hear the question I asked you?
I have, yes, the first question, I don't know if you had asked anything else because it froze, but I have no idea what that is. So no, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. All right, no further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Okay.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Rogan?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Baker, any witnesses?
I was going to recall Ms. Lancaster, but it sounded like Mr. Rogers was intending to do that, so I'll just defer to him.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Potts, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, other than I'm sure we'd like to hear from CASA at the end.
Yeah. We will after we get done with these rebuttal witnesses. So, okay, Mr. Rogers, I'm going to call Ms. Lancaster again.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Lancaster, I'd like to discuss the issue of communications between Ms. Bryan and placement. Have you received text messages from the placement in this matter?
Yes, sir.
And do those text messages detail communications between Ms. Bryan and the placement?
Yes.
And how would you describe those text messages?
Very ugly and mean and uncalled for messages from Autumn to the caregivers.
And is it your understanding that that is why the caregivers blocked her?
Absolutely.
And what is the current therapist recommendation regarding communication?
No contact with mom at all.
And are these text messages and other communications part of the reason, in your opinion, for that recommendation?
No. From the therapist?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Therapist is aware of these communications.
Yes.
Is the department willing to tolerate the behavior of Ms. Bryan toward placement in this matter?
No, sir.
Is it your opinion, having heard Ms. Bryan's testimony, that she was truthful in her responses to my earlier questions?
No, sir.
I have nothing further. I pass the witness.
Anybody else have any questions, Ms. Lancaster?
Yes,
I do.
Ms. Lancaster, is the department able to unilaterally make the decisions that normally the judge would make in this case?
No, sir.
Why didn't the department seek relief from this court and give this court an opportunity to make inquiry with my client and possibly admonish her before cutting off all communication?
Because Autumn was making her own decisions and calling them names and cussing at them. Would you want to be treated that way while you're caring for somebody else's children? No.
Objection,
No,
non-responsive. I
no.
pass the witness, Judge.
Sustain. Okay. Anybody else?
I have a few
Yes.
questions, Judge.
I just have one quick one and then Mr.
Hold on,
Baker.
Potts, you're last. Mr. Baker, did you have a question for Miss Bryant? I mean, Miss Lancaster?
I do, Your Honor. Ms. Lancaster, with regard to communications and possession orders from the court for Ms. Bryan, do you recall what the last order was specifically? Was it that communication between Ms. Bryan and her children were at the discretion of CPS and the ad litem's, or was it something different?
It was something different. It was the aggression. I mean, according to what therapists recommended.
So is it therapist recommendation?
Yes,
Okay. And that was a previous order by the court.
correct.
So is it your understanding that if that was the order of the court at that time, that if the therapist was making a recommendation, then that's what you were to follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, with regard to Ms. Bryan's drug testing, has she been drug testing on a regular basis?
She gets notified by the courtesy worker that she has to go test that day. They do a different testing system than we do in our region. And so they are notified that morning by their workers to go test that day. And
Okay.
she notifies Mr. Burlon and Autumn of those occurrences. Yes, she has been testing.
Okay.
When-
Are you receiving those test results back when she tests down there?
Yes, I do.
How many times, based on the results you have, has she tested since this case began, let's say?
Like tested positive or
Oh.
tested in general total?
I don't really have a preference, but we can say general total if that's an easy number for you to come up with.
So she tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 results that were provided to me
Okay.
at this time that she has tested since a few times.
And maybe you just don't have those yet?
Correct, because the last one I received was 5/25.
Okay, so May 25th was the last time. So about 2.5 weeks ago-ish,
Correct.
3 weeks. You testified earlier that she's testing positive for marijuana. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Is she tested positive for anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Is she being tested for alcohol, or is that an issue in this case?
That was not brought up. That was not an issue in the case, so she is not getting tested for that.
Fair enough. Has she been testing positive for marijuana on a regular basis?
Yes.
Okay. How many times has she tested positive for marijuana out of the results you do have in your possession?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2
So-
of them were negative.
7 out of 9. Were the last 2 negative?
No.
Okay. You heard Ms. Bryan testify that her positive results were low. What are her results what are her levels on her positive tests?
She has the positive 72, 25, 22, 33, 31, 27. So they range, they go up and down, up and down.
Okay. Are those are your analysis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In your opinion, are those levels high or low?
In between. It started out really high, but then it goes down and goes up. So they're still fairly high.
But they're not consistently going down.
No, they go down and go back up.
Okay. Does that indicate continued marijuana use?
Yes, sir.
Objection, Judge. This is a very complicated subject, and I don't believe, unless I need to take her on board dire, that she is an expert to testify to these levels, because it has a lot to do when the UA was done, and that can affect the levels. And it doesn't have any indication or shows that there's been any kind of consistent use or misuse of the drug. It just simply when the timing is done. And unless this lady is an expert on this kind of analysis, I'm going to object to any more testimony regarding that.
Mr. Baker, response?
Judge, I can let me ask a different question.
Okay, thank you. Sustain.
Drug test results in front of you, and you rattled off the levels.
Yes, sir.
Let's put some dates with those levels.
Okay.
But start at the first one.
It was 316, which was her hair follicle test. And that was positive for methamphetamines and marijuana. And then on
Hang on. So that was a hair follicle on
Yes.
March 16th. Okay. At the outset, you and I can agree that a hair follicle is not, you can't compare hair follicles to urinalysis. That's the
No,
apples
sir.
and oranges, right?
no, sir.
Okay. So that was the first one. And then the next one was on what date? And that was a urinalysis?
411 was a urinalysis, which came back negative.
Okay.
419 was a urinalysis, and it tested positive for marijuana.
At what?
72.
Okay.
427-23 was positive for marijuana, and it was 25,
Okay.
the levels. 5-2 was positive for marijuana for 22.
Okay.
5-8 was positive for marijuana. It was 33.
Okay.
5-16 was negative. 5-25 was positive, 31. 5-30 was positive, 27.
Okay. So without offering an opinion as to what that means, just so we're clear, starting on 419, she was a 72 and she went down until 5-2, which was a 22, and then went back up on 5-8 at a 33, then went down to negative, then popped back up on the 25th of the 31.
Correct.
And then her last drug test had come down 4 points to a 27.
Correct.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Anybody have any questions of Ms. Lancaster?
No, Your Honor, Mr. Baker asked my questions and he did a much better job than I would have. So I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Borland, you have anything of Ms. Lancaster?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next witness, Mr. Rogers.
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. and Ms. Perry, anything that was not in your report? Well, I didn't get my file, so I didn't get your report, but I guess you think everything's going well with the boys. Anything y'all would like to add?
Boys are doing well. Crystal has them involved in some camps and stuff this summer, and so the boys were very excited about that in our last visit or whatever. So they seem to be very content, very happy. And I have reached out to the three parents just so that we can get a better feel for the parents. And I have visited with Mr. Borland, and we're working on a time for us to meet with Mom. But Stephen and Derek, I've not got any response from. So,
Okay. Well, thank y'all for reaching out. That's good. You said the boys are doing some counseling. What about, are they doing any camps this summer, local camps and stuff?
Yes. they're
yes, she
doing
has them
good.
enrolled in several camps.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Yes, they had to show us the calendar of all their planned events. They were very excited about it.
Good.
They were, and it was very hard for me to get a date to come and see them because they were
Right.
scheduled full.
Right.
That's okay. Kids need to stay busy in the summer. That's good. Not on stupid phones or iPads or blah, 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 electronics. That's good. Okay. Anybody have any questions of the Perrys?
Yes, Judge, I do.
Okay. Go on, Mr. Borland.
At the last hearing, it was my understanding that the judge ordered that Mom could actually visit with Bentley. Do you have Bentley in your care?
We do.
And
I'm sorry, not in our care. We're the CASA, so we just go by and visit with them. We don't actually have them.
Gotcha. So do you know if that court order has been followed through with? Do you know if as CASA, do you know if Bentley has been able to meet with his mother?
He has not, to my knowledge. I did visit with him about that. If he had talked to his mom on the last time that we visited, and he told me he had not. And I said, do you want to? And he said, I do not. And I said, well, why do you not want to visit with her? And he told me that he was mad at her because she did not believe their allegations. And he said she wasn't even there when this happened or whatever. So he said, so I'm very mad at her. So.
All right. Thank you. Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Just a brief closing, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Potts, anything, hold on, sorry, Ms. Wheeler, we're not there yet. Ms. Potts, what would you like to add? And I
Yes,
need to be done at noon, y'all.
I just have a quick question. Mr. and Ms. Perry, do you have a position on maybe doing an extended visit with Mr. Roeglein or an in-person visit with Mr. Roeglein, or would you prefer to wait?
Hold on, I can't hear you. Could y'all hear her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, say it again, because I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I was just going to ask if they had a recommendation or position on whether or not Dallas should have an in-person visit with Mr. Roeglein or an extended visit, or if they preferred to wait for the therapist recommendations.
The only thing that I know, I have visited with Crystal about that a little bit. She did not. I don't know that we talked about a in-person visit, but we had talked about phone and stuff, and she saw no issues with that or whatever at this time. But I actually haven't. He's not responded back to me, so I actually haven't gotten to visit with him personally about plans or any of that type of stuff. So,
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Okay, Ms. Potts, what do you need today?
Judge, I'm good. The kids are great. Casa's doing a beautiful job. Placement is amazing. And I think if we follow the therapist recommendations, we're good. I would kind of like to see a little bit of a step up on Stephen, but I think Ms. Lancaster is working on that with the therapist to be sure that it's done appropriately.
Okay. Okay, I'm happy to hear from everybody. If anybody has anything I'd like to add, I already have some orders written down, but I really want to get this transfer deal decided. I mean, this is a first permanency hearing, and we've had this case too long if it's going to Corpus.
Yes, Your Honor, and I've got Mr. Borlon's cell phone. He put it in the chat. I'm going to call him after this is concluded, and we'll try to make contact with the county attorney's office. Failing that, I'll work with regional counsel. Either way, we'll get there.
I need some clarification from Ms. Borlon on the transfer issue. Mr. Borlon indicated in his questioning that Mr. Roeglein had a court of continuing jurisdiction. So I'm curious, is there a court of continuing jurisdiction or not?
I don't know, counsel. I learned of it in this hearing when we all learned of it. I asked him if there was an order and he said yes. And so I got to do some research. I don't know.
Well, but the reason I ask is because jurisdiction, as you know, jurisdiction and venue are different. And in your motion to transfer, you allege there was no court of continuing jurisdiction.
Right.
So you're saying there might be?
I don't know. I need to do some research here in Nueces County. Stephen did confirm that it was here in Nueces County. Whether it is an existing case or not, I don't know. I can't answer that. But that would be another reason why it needs to be done here in Nueces County.
Well, Judge, I would just say that in responding or not responding to his motion to transfer, he alleged no court of continuing jurisdiction. If there is a court of continuing jurisdiction, that could be a reason for transfer as well. But the rules, excuse me, let me be clear. The rules relating to when and how cases are transferred are different when there's a court of continuing jurisdiction versus when there's not, and we're just talking about venue.
I could be wrong, and like I said, I don't have my file because I reset this, but I thought that the motion to transfer talked about a mandatory transfer due to 6 months from where the children had lived previously.
Right,
Yes.
But it would be transfer of venue, which has its own set of rules.
Right.
There's no court of continuing jurisdiction.
Yeah.
The rules are
And-
different.
At the first hearing, I always ask, are there any prior orders involving the children? And, like I said, I don't have my file, so I don't have my docket sheet. So, I don't know what I can say about that or my notes. So, maybe I asked that, maybe we all forgot.
Well, maybe when Mr. Rogers and Mr. Borlon speak, they can figure that out.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, we're not aware of any, Your Honor, and I am looking through our prior orders here. I think there was a mention to transferring consolidating Johnson and Nueces County cases, which I think is in the works. But of course, then there was the motion to transfer venue back to Nueces County. And it's possible that Nueces County case is what we're referring to here.
Okay. Well, let me tell y'all what I have ordered so far. And y'all going to breakout room to talk, Mr. Rogers, after this?
I think that'd be helpful, Your Honor.
Okay, but we have 2 more hearings, and I have continuing education at 12:30. So y'all might have to figure that
Well, I
out.
could just call him. That's not a problem. We
We
can.
can talk via phone, Judge.
Yeah.
And Judge, I'm not
Yes.
necessarily I'm not in that dogfight in the details of that, but I know that these kids have got a busy schedule and I respect that, but we have a duty to these parents and their relationships above necessarily a schedule. I would very much like to see my client to be awarded some visitation, some long visitation that might not interfere with therapy within the month. I mean, there's no concerns and we're running out of time, whether it's transferred or not.
And Your Honor, also likewise, I joined with Ms. Pardue in that the court had already ordered my client to have contact with Bentley, and that hasn't happened. And I would like the court to admonish the parties to make sure that happens.
I think my prior ruling was as agreed by as therapist's recommendation.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I don't have any prior order. So here's what I'm going to order today, what I have so far. CPS provide all reports to all attorneys in CASA monthly beginning 7/1/23 and on the first day of each month thereafter. My next permanency hearing, probably won't have it, but just so we have to keep something going on our schedule, is 9/13/23. Y'all have already agreed that all the hearings in this case up here can be held via Zoom. I'm not going to change my orders. Visits for parents is agreed by the children's therapist. Mom's contact is to go through the children's counselor. Sounds like there's a bunch of allegations about each way, and we don't need that. I forgot to ask Mr. Baker, where's your client, Mr. Baker?
I have lost contact with my client, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I wrote that you appeared. Parents, you have service plans. You have to comply. Your parental rights can be subject to termination. The quicker y'all, maybe the courts in Nueces County will rule differently than me, but that's where I'm staying right now. I think it's important that the boys are heard. And I think that mom can get with the Phoenix Center therapist. And I think they had a good plan about mom coming up here and meeting with the therapist and seeing what they can work out. And Miss Wheeler, it sounds like Miss Lancaster's making a plan with your client. I'm not going to order it because it sounds like it's being worked on and agreed to with the items. Miss Potts?
Yes, Your Honor, this is just an awareness issue. I believe the director of the Phoenix Center sent a letter to the department saying that they did not want any letters from mom to go to the children because they felt like it was a conflict of interest. And they were very upset that we were asking them to do that. And I think it was court ordered. So I'm not sure that they would be, they may want a separate family therapist or something whenever they decide that they need contact with mom. Anyway, I just want to make you aware of that.
How can they decide any of that without actually talking to the mother? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, when I sent the letters over to the therapist, they did talk to the kids about it and they read them to them. But the director, Sarah Garrett, wrote me an email saying that is not, they don't do that kind of thing. It's unethical for them to do that and to never ask any of her therapists to do that again.
So, Ms. Lancaster, are you saying the Phoenix Center is not going to talk to mom at all?
No, they'll talk to mom, but sending the letters to the therapist for them to do the therapeutic settings.
The letters can go through CASA and Ed Adams.
Okay.
We'll get around that one.
Okay. But I don't think they would have a problem talking with mom, but I don't know you, I can provide her the information of the Phoenix Center and she can call to speak with them.
Okay. Mom's letters go through CPS and Ed Adams. It's stupid because if it's something that needs to be discussed in therapy, it's just another step in the cog. That's dumb. But of course, I'm not a therapist and I'm not warm and fuzzy. So what can I say?
I agree with the court.
I'm sure. Yeah, don't get me started, So, okay. Well, please, y'all, Mr. Borland, Mr. Rogers, y'all please talk. We'll have some breaks today. And y'all make a plan, okay? And keep everybody else informed, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank y'all. I don't want to see y'all. I'm set on 9/13, but I hope not to see y'all on 9/13. Reports on Williams. But I assume Cameron's doing well. I know he was going to Washington, D.C. I took some suitcases over for him. What's the latest scoop on Mr. Cameron?
Well, Your Honor, I think the best thing to do is to let Ms. Austin give us an update on it.
Okay.
He's been doing great. I just received his report cards. He's doing awesome. He has all A's and B's. He is on his trip. He'll be back shortly. He's very excited about it being his first airplane trip. So he's doing great. I did take the luggage to him. He also received great donations with gift cards and cash donations. So he was able to have adequate funds for his trip.
Good, good. Still doing his art and attitude okay? Everything good there?
The only complaint is that he's a little tardy sometimes when he's going on outings. I went out to see him last month and he was on another trip with the school. But thus far, everything's been going well. He's still doing his art. Letters from dad are still going through CASA, and Sarah has been assigned, so we've been in communication.
Okay, good. Yay, okay. Is he talking to dad any and dad in TDC?
So he is still communicating via letter, but I did get an email from Jennifer Clark requesting the phone calls between dad. So she's working on that, trying to be able to allow him those phone calls while he's being supervised.
Okay. What about mom? No contact with mom?
No.
Yeah.
He's there. No.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions of Miss Austin?
Miss Austin, how are we doing in school? I know that in prior reports, there was issues about, staying awake in class, getting there on time, all that kind of stuff, but it seemed like that's been improving. Is that doing that?
That has been improving. So he hasn't been falling asleep in class. He's also working. His grades are great, but he is a tad tardy sometimes, but it looks to be improving.
Okay. And he got to go on that trip because he won an award, right?
He did. And I got a chance to look at some of his art, and it's really great.
That's great. Does the department have any concerns or require anything from the judge today?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, CASA, Ms. Dowell, anything y'all need to add?
I sent in a comprehensive report, so I don't know why you didn't get that, because it went over a lot of these things you're asking about. But he is requesting that he be allowed to get a driver's license. I don't know if we need to go through the court for that, or I can work with Mark Wheat to try to get that done, CPS. But he said that that's the next thing on his goal list. But he's doing really well. He did see a doctor about his sleep issues so he could stay awake better in class, and he's been taking melatonin at night to try to be able to calm his mind and go to sleep earlier. And I think it's helping, but we'll see. He's out of school for the summer.
Okay, I'm going to say CPS to pay for driver's ed.
That'd be great. You're really happy with that.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, well, I'm glad to hear he's on his trip and he got a bunch of gift cards, get some new clothes and everything. So that's cool. We'll be anxious to hear about it when he gets back. We'll say everything continue other than the driver's ed thing, and we'll have our next hearing on 9/13 once we get back from summer and hear how things are going. Before we begin the next hearing, Mr. Rogers, I'm just going to say all those. Thank y'all. All those cases that we had agreed orders on, the perms after for 9/13. Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
So Ms. Gonzalez can do that for her orders. Okay, Dunmire, other case. It's cause number 21998, or maybe 21988. Yeah, 219. I wrote over the first 8.
Yes. Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell, the relative said he's still in the waiting room. Christopher Farrell.
He just got here. He wasn't still here, like he'd been sitting for hours. He just got here.
Okay.
What happened to the father, y'all?
Oh, I heard he died.
I heard that. I read that in somebody's report. Mr. Farrell, you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, he swears. What happened? Anybody know what happened to him?
I think CASA, one of the foster dads spoke with his mom, because they have contact with his mom.
We spoke to Dante's grandmother and great grandmother about the situation. Turns out the reports that he got electrocuted underneath his house. He was trying to rescue his dog, and the dog died electrocuted. Tried taking it out. Apparently there was a live wire or something down there, and that shocked him too, and he ended up passing away.
That is an awful story.
Yeah.
That is awful.
Ugh.
I'm sorry. Mr. Farrell, is that your understanding too? You're muted. Gosh, that's really scary too. That could happen to anybody, I guess. Wow. Spooky. Okay, but Dante's doing well. How are the visits going? What do we need to work on today, Mr. Rogers?
Well, Your Honor, I'm trying to look here. I don't think that there's anything going badly with the child. Let me take a quick look on my report here. There we go. So I guess, Shakira, a couple of questions. Looks like we've received the home study on Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Okay, great. And how did that turn out?
It was approved through Mississippi, which also had required him to get licensed. So he's licensed as well as the home study has been approved.
Okay, great. Are there any concerns with the health, safety, or welfare of the child?
No, Dante's doing fine. I actually went down to Brownsville this past weekend, and I told my kids, I said, I'm moving to Brownsville for the food. The foster dads made some recommendations, really good Mexican food. Then on my way out, they had recommended some snow cones that was so delicious. Yes, I really enjoyed myself. And Mr. Farrell actually came up for a visit the past weekend as well. We went to the zoo, which was courageous for us to do with the heat and everything. But it was really good. Went to the zoo with the kids because the foster dads also have a foster daughter, about the same age as Dante. And then we went to their house and, I finished the visit there. But other than that, Dante's doing well. I know he had some issues with asthma. I talked to the foster dads about that. They said, I think he's just adjusting to the change of environment, but there hasn't been nothing major. He's just as cute as ever. And when he looks at you with those eyes, it's just, but he's doing really good.
That's great to hear. Does the department need anything from the court today?
I think as far as from the department, we are just trying to see now that the home study has been approved, where do we want to go from there? I did discuss with the foster dads and Mr. Farrell about possible mediation because I had spoke with Rob Wilson first, letting him know that it was approved. And he was bringing back to remembrance that judge had said maybe we could look into doing some mediation or something like that. So we kind of discussed that, what that would look like and things like that.
And so the department's probably looking to possibly attend a mediation or just work something out where department could move on as far as conservatorship once we had an agreement for conservatorship and visitation and things of that nature. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further. And good to see you again, Shakira.
Yes, I know it's been a while.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Miss Williams? Mr. Farrell, go on.
Yes, ma'am.
You can ask.
I'm very sorry. I had issues where I couldn't hear.
Okay.
I do have the issue fixed now where I can hear. I did miss what was being said.
Well, I have to be gone in 5 minutes so you can get with Miss Williams and she can explain it to you later. So, okay. Next witness, Mr. Rogers.
I have no further witnesses, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Hyde, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Y'all want to go to mediation? What do y'all want to do?
I think it makes sense. We could probably hash this out pretty quickly.
Okay.
And Judge, if I would just like to, hopefully we can work this out of mediation, but if not, I know we will need a hearing set on a placement issue if we don't.
Okay, mediators and Lano are, oh, hold on, Casa, anything y'all would like to add? Or Miss Harris?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Everything's good?
Yeah.
Sounds like he has cool places to eat, lots of humidity, but good, hurricanes go down there, but that's, whatever. And, too bad you can't cross the border to go to the fun places we all used to grow up going to down there, but, way it goes. Russ Baker, Michelle Cummings, Angela Dowdle, Emily Miller, Randy Robinson, Andrew Thompson, Courtney Wheeler, Sonia Wright. What about Russ Baker? He might be good for this. Who was on the line? I think Michelle represented the father. Who represented the mom? I don't remember.
I'm looking. It was, let's see. Lawyers on the case originally was Marcus, Susan Potts replaced by Bobby Shell, and Jennifer's always been the ad litem. So I think I don't think Russ was on it. Unless I'm
What
mistaken.
about lawyers? What do y'all think about Russ Baker?
I'm fine with that, Judge.
I'm fine with that.
Do y'all think y'all could, if I set this for, let's see, 9/13, y'all think y'all could get mediation done before then?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to set it. I mean, I got like July 12th, August 30th. I mean, there's really no difference between August 30th and 9/13. So, y'all go on and send me the ICPC home study because I don't have it for me to read if I need to. And Miss had that day in real bad, but we might need longer for the hearing that y'all are talking about. So we might have to just do a special date for that. But we'll go on and have a perm after hearing on 9/13.
That makes sense. That works, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm going to put in the mediation order that Chris Farrell to attend mediation. Everybody else is a party. Okay, so y'all are working out Mr. Farrell's visitation. Sound like he's getting to go to Brownsville and have some good Mexican food and snow cones, whatever else y'all have down there. So y'all are working that out. I don't need to do any orders for that, correct? Okay. Okay. Mr. Farrell and Camarillo's, well, mediation will be by Zoom, so you don't have to worry. Y'all don't have to worry. I know everybody's all over the place, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. So I'm just going to say everything continue mediation with Russ Baker by 9/13/23. Everybody appear except me. Okay. Okay. Somebody send me a picture. I like pictures.
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
He is adorable.
I don't remember seeing him in a long time.
Little redhead.
So somebody send me a picture. So, okay. Well, that's all we got. And good luck to y'all. Workout visits. And I'll see y'all on 9/13.